Seems like we've come to the point in our country when we are in a non-stop election cycle. Indeed, from the day they start a term of office, members of Congress are expected to spend several hours each and every day making fundraising phone calls. And the 24-hour news cycle, complete with its talking heads, thrives on keeping us on the edge of our seats. But election has a different meaning, and in this meaning, we are indeed in a non-stop election cycle, only this is a much more virtuous cycle. I'm speaking, of course, of the doctrine of election, one of our bedrock doctrines in the Reformed family of faith. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Monday, August 28th, 2023. If you've just joined us, or if you're returning after a spell, I've been talking about important theological terms so that we can build up our vocabulary. Today I want to talk about the doctrine of election. You actually already know a fair amount about it, as it is closely related to the doctrine of predestination. Indeed, by some estimates, there's hardly the thickness of a sheet of paper between the two. In fact, the two terms can be used almost interchangeably without doing them any injustice. So what is election as it is used in theology? In a word, choice. God's choice. Just as we use the word election in the political realm to refer to the choice given to people to choose their leaders, we use the term election in the theological realm to talk about those whom God has chosen to be included in His kingdom. The relevant idea here is that it is God's choice. And where do we get this idea? Well, to begin with, it is a supremely biblical idea. Think about the entire sweep of the Bible. God chose Noah and his family to repopulate the world after the flood. God chose Abraham and Sarah to begin the family that would soon become Israel. God chose Moses to be the one to confront Pharaoh and lead the Hebrews out of slavery. God chose the people of Israel to be His special people. And it goes on and on throughout Scripture. In the New Testament, Jesus talks about the idea of election as well. Here's just one passage from Matthew where He talks about it. He's talking about false prophets who were sure to come and falsely proclaim the end of times. In this regard, Jesus says, false messiahs and false prophets will appear and produce great signs and omens to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. He continues saying, then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And He will send out His angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather His elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. When it comes to salvation, then, we are elected, chosen for it, by the gracious decision of God. Which, of course, begs the question, what about those not chosen? Where's the fairness in that? The answer is simply a counter question. It's not why does God choose some and possibly not others, but why does God choose anyone at all? Seen this way, it becomes clear that election is a matter of God's grace, for honestly, none of us deserves it. The fact that any of us are granted salvation comes down to God's outrageous grace. Why does God, or why might God choose some and possibly not others? That's really a question to ask God when we enter the kingdom in the life to come. But to my way of thinking, this is a question that reveals the spirit of a truly loving soul. Only someone with love deep in their hearts would even think to worry about those possibly not elected. But in this life, it is a question no one can really answer. The doctrine of election, then, is not about what we choose, but what, or rather who, God chooses. And it always boils down to grace. Always grace. Tomorrow, eschatology. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.